Mr. Mayhem, what's up? Slime Pack, boy, are you back out on the road? Now that I'm sitting here looking, man, I still haven't shaved it down yet. Shoot, still looking raggedy. Afro. So hey, I just wanted to come on here real quick, man. I watched a video by Freight Nation, formerly Freight Skater, and he was talking about some shit that happened at a TA in Oklahoma. So I wanted to kind of touch on that just a little bit. Just wanted to make sure that I'm not on my Wi-Fi at home. For some reason, that'll kick me off. David, what's up? These, I always think of these nuts. What's up? Humberto, what's up? So, all right, Slime Pack back on the road. So anyway, first of all, if you happen to be coming through Colorado and you're crazy enough to be wanting to go over I-70, today is not your day. I can almost assure you there's going to be some chains required up on 70. So you might not want to be messing with that. All right. So anyway, Freight Skater did a video, or Freight Nation did a video. He was at probably one of the worst TAs out there, Oklahoma City. Both of them are, actually one of them is not that bad. I think he was at the bad one, West Oklahoma City. And he fueled up, did all that kind of stuff, pulled up to the yellow line, went inside to get something to eat, and came back out, and somebody had came out there and put stickers, not on one window, but on both of his windows. And it kind of turned into this big blow up out there and everything. And just kind of wanted to talk about that. Now, TA Petro's been getting on my nerves lately anyway, with this whole we're installing like these gates. So if you're coming in to park, you're going to have to pay anyway, right? Now, the problem with that is some of these TAs and Petros aren't set up where that makes it too friendly. You're going to have a bunch of traffic backed up on the street, stuff like that, just to pull in. If you're just going in to get fuel and bounce, that turns that into an inconvenience. Plus, some of these TAs, Petros have blue beacons. I mean, it's just a mess, right? And I just feel like, yeah, Slime Pack, hey, I'm about to start boycotting TA Petro. As soon as I start seeing a lot of these gates starting to get enforced, I am done with them. But my thoughts about this situation with Freight Nation, with what specifically happened to him, is TAs and Petros have kind of been a little gangster anyway for a long time. And not all of them. Some of them aren't like that. But for example, if you want to make your own space or whatever at a Love's, primarily a Love's, nobody's going to ever mess with you at no Love's, no matter how creative you park. And I'm proud to say I've never, ever parked outside of a parking spot, an actual spot, at any truck stop I've ever been in or anywhere I've parked. But I don't think Love's would mess with you. TA, Petro, they're gonna, you have a chance of getting woken up, especially if you're in a reserve spot and you haven't paid, primarily on the West Coast or East Coast, one of those two coasts. More so on the East Coast. But anyway, especially to him, I don't know exactly how much time he about that, but my philosophy, am I freezing up? My philosophy is, especially at a TA Petro, I am not, well, first of all, I'm not going in to order any kind of food anyway. Just because I don't know if it's going to take 5 minutes or it's going to take 25 minutes. So that's the first thing I would never do anyway. And I'm not even saying that he was wrong in that. I just think what he did was overkill, regardless of if he was right, wrong, or whatever. And one driver is not going to make that big of a difference. Like when I start boycotting TA Petro, they aren't going to feel it because, I'm one driver out of, however many drivers. But just out of principle alone, when they start enforcing this stuff a little bit more, I'm going to be out. And, it's kind of to the point where it's just kind of they're making it too corporate. You know what I mean? Like Love's is a corporation. I don't know if they're traded on the market, on the stock exchange or whatever. I don't think they are, but but as soon as you start alienating your clientele, you started going downhill or trying to create confrontations. You might make some more money up front, but at some point you're going to start losing some business. And I don't doubt that may end up happening to TA Petro. I mean, there are people like, I would say that I'm pretty loyal to TA Petro. I could be wrong. Maybe it's in my head. I think they have better fuel. It almost feels like as soon as I change over from like Love's fuel, because I haven't fueled up at a Flying J or Pilot in a long time, but as soon as I change over fuel between like Love's and Petro or to Petro TA, it seems like I'm automatically getting better fuel economy right off the bat. I don't know. I could be wrong. So, what's up, clown? Hey, Billy Bob. I'm not worried about subscribers on here, so So anyway, and because I work at Prime, or should I say the company that I work at, and because my truck is fairly noticeable, there are certain things that I don't do that I may do if I worked at a more incognito company and had more of an incognito truck. If I just had a flat white truck or, whatever, maybe I'd do things a little bit different, but I'm always now people don't know me like they know Slime Pack or anything like that, but I don't want to be in a position where somebody catches me slipping at a truck stop and then starts filming me, look at this, guy spending 30 minutes in the fuel, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that I would like, even dumb shit like wearing my headset out of the truck. There are times when I'm at a ship receiver and I know there might be somebody around watching my videos, and I talk about how I hate people walking around with these headsets on all the time. I won't even do that. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm at a truck stop, I'm always conscious of people potentially looking at me. So, or waiting for me to fuck up, whether it's backing, sitting in a fuel island too long, just doing any kind of stupidity that they could post up on the internet. So I don't mess around in no fuel islands just for that reason itself. Especially some of those. That truck stop that he was at, that TA is like one of the worst TAs. The first people to say, TA Petro, out of all the regular chains, and I'm just talking about Flying J, Loves, and TA Petro, Pilot, whatever. Though you're never gonna find, they are gonna have the best of those bunches, and they're gonna have the worst of those. And that happens to be one of the worst. All right, anyway. Let me get to some of these comments real quick. Trolls, the God, can I ask a controversial question with no disrespect? Go ahead and ask that question. Not gonna lie, the facility itself is garbage as fuck. Parking lots full of holes. and their services and buildings are as bad as Pilot. The bad ones are especially bad. I'm glad no one can recognize my truck. Hey, Shamarcus, I recognize your truck. I've seen it out there and around. And
Do we make a half pot of coffee?
I got coffee right here.
Well, I'm making coffee for me, so
Okay, yeah, I don't need any.
okay.
All right, Michael Farley, penalty without a warning is a bad deal for everyone. I just don't know why you would go that far out of your way to alienate one of your people. I mean, you could turn this situation into such a good situation. And a lot of people don't look past that. They're too busy trying to make a point. You could actually turn that situation around and make, in this case, Freight Skater a more loyal customer by just saying, hey, man, here's our new policy here right now. We understand that a lot of truck drivers are having issues with getting fuel and leaving and all that kind of stuff. So here's kind of what we've done to make things a little bit better for you guys. Uh, you know, they're going to start, implementing this policy a little bit more tightly. Whatever. They could have taken that a whole different angle than just putting a sticker on there and then waiting to see somebody's reaction after the fact. What's the worst TA I've been to? Man, there's a lot of them. Probably there's one up in. See, here's part of the problem. There's some bad TAs that always have parking. So sometimes I gotta slide, rate that on a scale, but slide and scale. To be honest with you, I would say most of them are bad, but the ones that are good are really good. So it's hard for me to really pick one. All right. What's up, Corey? Shot in your coffee since you're at home time. I really haven't had the same urge to be doing it quite as much, but hey, since you said it, not in my coffee, but I'll get a little here. All right. Greetings from Kutztown. What's up? What's up, Everett? The new truckers on the road. Man, I ain't got no problem with anybody out there driving trucks, to be honest with you, regardless of what nationality, none of that stuff. I have no problem with it. Denver is a bad one, but I wouldn't even say that's even on the list of being one of the worst ones. KLLM? No, I'm not a KLLM, if that was the question. West Memphis Petro. That is a bad Petro right there. Not only do the pumps not work all the time, but then you got to drive through the entire parking lot to get out of it, and you're going to be going through some craters to get out. Nebraska, he must be talking about the York, Nebraska TA. That is a bad one right there. That one is horrible, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Now, some of the good ones, the Petro in Arvin, California, at the bottom of the grapevine, excellent. I mean, I could talk about a bunch of excellent Petros TAs. The one that's in Illinois, it's around like 80 and 55. That one's excellent. Even the TA, I think it's a Petro in Gary, Indiana, the one that's across from the Loves. That one's all right. All right. The worst in Nebraska, I believe, is the first one entering. I think the Petro on the other end of Wyoming is worse. The one that's like when you come out of Utah is probably worse than the one coming out of Nebraska, but they're both not good. And none of them in Nebraska are good, as a matter of fact. The TA in Ham is absolutely horrible. And you know what? They got me for paid parking when I was out there. First of all, you could not see anything that said it was reserved or anything like that. I ended up having to burn a ultra credit on that because they were like, "Oh, this is reserved." I was like, "Where does it say anything?" And the guy was like, "Hey, man, I understand. I've been telling them this for a long time." So all these little incidents, whether they're happening to me or other people, like Freight Skater, these are things that is going to make me really start boycotting them. I've been talking about it, but I'm almost to that point where I'm just done with them. But they're like I said, I think the fuel is better. I could be wrong, and their points are way better than Love's. I think and definitely better than Pilot Flying J, at least at the company I'm at. All right. Oh shit. Here we go. Paul, I'm homies with the Punjabis. They've been running up the money on them trucks. Like I said, listen, I've heard a lot of bullshit on the CB. I've never heard anybody talking like this over the CB, or however you want to say. I've never seen that. I've heard a lot of people with country accents talking shit on the CB. All right, Everett, what's up, man? TA Express, I-40, Tennessee, small, clean, and great Mexican food. I think I know which one you're talking about. Is that the one that has like the few restaurants in it? There's one that I don't get by a lot that I think is super nice in Tennessee. That $17 meal credit is excellent. Man, I would put on some music, but I don't want him to copyright strike me on that music. I was just at a TA. As a matter of fact, when I brought my load home, I went and got a washout in my truck and filled up my trailer. I went to that TA, and they're about to put those little parking enforcement things in at the TA in Denver, and that's as if going to that blue beacon isn't bad enough. Now you got to go through these gates to get there. Lexa, can you play South Bronx instrumental?
South Bronx by GXNE Boy on Amazon Music.
Nope. Stop. Lexa, stop. Man, I don't know no good instrumentals.
It's all right, sweetheart. You'll get it one day.
Shut up. All right, Shamarcus, MTA Expresses are privately franchised. I think. Oh, you know what? The TA in Mount Vernon, Missouri is an excellent TA. Exit 46, I-44. That's an excellent one right there. And then just to kind of talk a little bit about one of the last videos I did, where I think I spoke about this law that's going into place that you have to be able to speak English. Listen, I do not have a problem with that law. What I have a problem with is there's always when things aren't going right, whether it be for a person, an industry, or whatever, they always try to find somebody to blame for that. So now it just happens to be Indians and people that can't speak English. Okay, we don't got to worry about that. Then next it could be some other people. So I just don't like it when people are, because if everybody was making $4 a mile and making $10,000 a week, nobody be worried about what language people speak or any of this kind of stuff. And I just feel at this point it's just kind of picking on people. So that's my only thing about it. Yeah, I do think people should be able to speak English, but that's not my battle to fight. I'm not going to get into that one or worry about it. All right, the one in Joplin is pretty good. Yeah, that Joplin Petro is pretty good as well. I don't necessarily. I stopped there, but it's not. There are other places I would stop at before I stop there. I don't go to the Iowa 80. If I'm going to be stopping in that area, there's a come and go like 8 miles down the road to the west that I'll stop at. All right. The new one north of Vegas coming up from Utah through Arizona is pretty good. Or pretty clean. I don't think I've been to that one. But this winter is not one to let up. I don't know what the other mountain ranges are looking like on the West Coast. I don't know if there's issues in Donner, Montana, Snoqualmie, all that kind of stuff. But you do not want to be messing around coming over I-70 into Colorado right now. You do not want that. Simplify. So I do need to get back out to my truck. I'll probably end up doing that tomorrow sometime because I'm not in the mood to be leaving right now. So anyway, that's about it, man. I didn't want to hang. Looks like everybody might be out there running right now. So yeah, I might have to organize a boycott of TA Petro here coming up in a little bit because these guys have just ran off the rails lately. These guys are acting like they just don't care, and I cannot. As a matter of fact, I might just start doing it when I come back off the road. I might just start boycotting them right off the bat. Unless I absolutely need parking. Well, shoot, I don't know. I'd have to need parking really bad to be doing what they're talking about doing. So I don't know. Schmarcus, I don't think I'm running winter at all this year. Man, running winter is just not worth it. I mean, I don't know if I could just get completely away from running it, but they certainly aren't making it inviting to run with everything they're trying to put in place at the company that we work at. So I don't know. But I know you don't want to be messing around with I-70 going through Vail Pass right now, today. So if you happen to be running from Utah to Colorado, you might want to detour. Go around. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I'm going to be doing is going out there pulling all my tire socks off of the truck. But Shamarcus, here's what I'm gonna do next time I come off of home time is I'm fully convinced after 5 years of running, 5 years of running lease, I don't, is that when I come off of home time, I know how my run is gonna shape up with that first 4 loads coming out for home time. So if I plan on being out 5 weeks or whatever that is, I could tell how that's going to be based on my first 4 loads. So I might come out, see how things are going on these first 4 loads, and then either shorten up the run or extend it out a little bit. Because if I did not have to be here, I probably would have shortened up this last run this last time I was out. All right, well, things look like they slowed up in here, so I'm about to get up off of here. But go check out that video. If you haven't checked out that video, Freight Nation, I think it's called, like, Vandal. I don't know what the... Hold on, let me see what the video's name. The video is called Ever Been Kicked Out of a Truck Stop? I Was Forced to Leave. And then the picture says TA Vandalism on it. Go check out that video. All right, Shamarka says he's been running hard all spring. Man, if I really look at it, out of the 10 weeks I was out, I got to throw 3 of those weeks out. I got to throw out the week that I came off of home time. I got to throw out the week that I came to home, which this probably could have been an excellent week had I not stopped it short on Sunday morning. And then I got to throw out the week when I stopped at the terminal. So that gives me 7 weeks where I got to look at what my numbers look like. 4 of those 7 weeks were below average, and then 3 of them were still below average, but within range. So I would probably say that for a 10-week run, I probably made, $4,000 less than I would have expected during those 10 weeks. All right, yeah, so go check out that video. The comments, boy, over there, they're going pretty hard in the paint on them comments over there. Like I said, I don't know exactly how long that he was in that fuel island, but I just feel a little too uncomfortable to actually go in and order like actual food when I'm at a truck stop, unless it's like clear that there's open lanes and stuff for people to get into and all that kind of stuff. Then then I'll consider or I've done it. But if there's trucks in all the fuel islands, I just don't do it. Not because there's anything wrong with it, especially if you're gonna get it fast or whatever, but I could just imagine somebody talking shit or posting me up on some video or something down the line. So more so for that than actually doing anything wrong. I just can't put myself in a position for some idiot to be posting me up on some YouTube channel. All right, Trucking Life, my Filipino wife. Enjoy home time. I'm gonna try. If I get a chance to see Sinners, yeah, I've been thinking about doing that. Man, the early '90s, boy, that was, if you're talking about there's some good clubs, that was the pinnacle of things back in the '90s as far as that went. Was the 4 weeks of hard running at the end on campaign? No, they were kind of sporadically put in there. Or the 4 weeks were kind of mixed in there. They weren't anything in a row. $4.12. No, I didn't. Man, I don't remember if you sent me a picture on that or not. 412, excuse me. But I am conscious of that. So you will never see me do that. Like I said, not because I think there's anything wrong with it. I still remember I was at that Petro in what's the big one in Ohio? There's the Petro, and then there's a Pilot or whatever across the street. I forget the name of that city, Girard or something. There was like 12 fuel islands at that place, right? So my mistake, even though there was all these empty fuel islands, was to pull up at the one that was right next to the door, because there was like maybe 2 people fueling out of all 12 of these. And then somebody gets behind me. And so I'm thinking, okay, the only reason he's behind me is because he's trying to burn up a 30. And then the guy like starts rushing me out of there. This is probably about 3 years ago. Starts trying to rush me out of there, acting like I was like, all these fuel islands, and you had to get behind me in this one. So now I know if I'm going to be there a while, or if I just want to take a 30 and it's at night, I'll go all the way to the end and park, because most people ain't going to park at the end and then want to walk in. So I learned my lesson on that. 412, clubbing and dancing ain't even a thing no more. Just post up on a wall. Man, I just asked my son that question. I was like, how do you meet people these days? Because, I mean, back in the day, 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe even into the early 2000s, there was like, that was the place, the club. Then it kind of turned into bars, and then, I don't know, but especially in the 90s. Man, those, yeah. 412, sat behind a prime truck for over 30 minutes. I was finally able to escape to get next to it. Still had to wait. I've actually gone up and knocked on somebody's door. Like, I'll give you some time, but I've actually gone up there and asked people. Because here's the problem with reefer. Sometimes if you got to get your reefer fuel, you got to pull up a little bit, and sometimes there's not that room to pull up, and then you end up timing out, and then you got to redo the whole reefer fuel thing again. So that is one of the worst things about getting reefer, is waiting for the truck in front of you to pull out. So sometimes I won't even activate my fuel pump until that person's out of the way in front of me. And what really irritates me is when people, and partially it's probably because somebody's in the fuel, holding up the fuel island, is when somebody leaves their truck and then they haven't made it to the fuel island yet. So you got the empty fuel island, a truck behind that. I mean, anyway. I don't know about Club X in McAllen, Texas. I've never been there, but I know Club Metro in Riverside is legendary. See, Raves was a little bit after me. Raves was kind of like, that was kind of more of a millennial type of a situation, and that wasn't a lot of what I was doing back in them days. And yeah, I mean, I went to all different kinds of places, so it wasn't white, black, whatever. What's up, Earl? Just out here in Denver chilling. House parties in the 80s, man. House parties were kind of, I'm trying to think. I think we did do a lot. We did do some, or not me, but I went to some house parties in the 80s and stuff like that. But by that time, and they would have to have been the early 80s because we could drink in Colorado at 18 or maybe even nationwide, I don't know, but in Colorado the drinking age was definitely 18 when I was 18. So a lot of times there was not the need to be having the house parties because everybody was out at the clubs. So uh so but yeah, I did go to some house party. But a lot of time, I hung around with a bunch of different people, right? So I hung around with everybody. So with white people, it might have been more like we're gonna go hang out like in the fields or the woods or some shit like that with the keg. House parties was more kind of, your urban black people kind of thing. And then went to all different kind of clubs, whether it be, that was the beauty of growing up where I grew up is I kind of hung out with everybody. It was a great time. 412 going down to Waco. I love Waco. What's up? When are you coming over here?
That's what we're talking about. I'm gonna come get him after a while. Say hi, Pop Pop.
Hey. So right now I'm looking at my grandson and my daughter's forehead, which is extremely large right now for some reason.
Right now I'm looking at my grandson and my daughter's forehead. It's extremely large.
I like going down there to that Waco, Texas area, but and Shamarcus brought up a good reason why I think a lot of people, first of all, back when I was going to clubs, you could fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when I was a bouncer at a bar, you could just fight, right? You didn't have to worry about you didn't have to worry about a number of different things. First of all, you didn't have to worry about everybody in the world knowing, MMA type moves and shit. And then you didn't have to worry about anybody trying to pull out guns and shit like that. But you can't even think about getting in a fight today without worrying about somebody pulling out a gun. Not that I'm in the age group to be fighting anymore. I still remember I used to be a bouncer at this bar with actually I'm gonna go over to this guy's house when I'm here, hopefully when I'm out here this time. But I've done videos about this guy. You'd never think he was a drug dealer. He's like I'm trying to picture what he would look like. He looks like your average white dude, right? But back in the 70s, he used to sell so much. He used to sell so much. Marijuana was his main thing. He was like, Lyle, we were making so much money, we couldn't even count it. We had to weigh it. So anyway, his wife owns a bar. And I was a bouncer at that bar for a while.
Okay, he keeps saying Pop Pop, so you gotta say hi, Pop Pop. Then you keep asking for him.
Why am I looking at him on here when he's going to be coming over here? Well, go pick his little ass up. All right, so I'm a bouncer at this bar, and then one of the guys that's a bouncer at this bar with me used to be an MMA fighter. His name was Pat Smith, and he was an MMA fighter back before there was like regulations and all that kind of stuff. We're talking like the early days of MMA, back when like one of the only places you could do it was Denver. So I'm a bouncer at a bar with this guy, and he was just all about the fighting, right? So actually I'm leading into the wrong story. But anyway, trying to be a bouncer with this guy was hard because all he wanted to do was fight everybody all the time. But when I really thought about me needing to stop being a bouncer at this place was I had to kick these people out of the bar. And I knew that the people were over 21 years old, but they were having a crackdown in this. They were having a crackdown because there was too many bars getting cited for underage drinking. And they were sending in a lot of people to kind of do undercover work on that. So these particular people, I couldn't let in the bar. And it turned into this big ass thing. So this guy said, hey, man, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get some of my boys and we're going to come up here and fuck this place up. So I'm like, I took this shit very serious. There happened to be this other guy that used to sell drugs that was right. He was listening to this. And he's like, hey, Lyle, what's up? And I said, well, here's what, and he just happened to be a regular customer. So he's like, what's up? And I said, man, these guys are pissed off. Like I didn't let their friend in or whatever. They said they're going to leave and come back. Well, this guy knew a ton of people. So he said, hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to call some people. So he called these people and they showed up. But before they showed up, he's like, if anything becomes a problem, we can go out to my trunk. And I'm like thinking, now I was in the Marines, right? So at this time, we're talking early 90s. I'd only been out of the Marines like